It's been an eventful period in the socio-political space, with the media continuing to be inundated with news and events across the globe. From politics to economy, to defense, and even to international affairs. It's been one talking point to another. On Insight today, as usual with Mondays, we have the insiders. I like to call them that, but they are actually the gatekeepers. And to some extent too, they are also the foot soldiers who will give us behind-the-scene explanations or even understanding of some of the events that have happened. This basically means that they are known to the uninitiated as editors and reporters, but they are those who decide what gets into the bulletin, either in the broadcast stations or in the print stations or in the print media or even in the social media. The people who give the final go-ahead before the stories are there. And they also have rose through the ranks. That means they also know how to put the stories together. So that's a total package, as you say. On the show today, we have two of them. They are not new to this show. BODE, GBADEBO is online editor with the Leadership newspaper. BODE, once again, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Good morning, Abuja.
We also have Amadin, who is also the bureau chief for News Central and is also the head of Northern Operations for that outfit. Amadin, thank you for joining us.
It's always a pleasure to be on Insight.
Yes, always a pleasure. Last week you were missing in action, but only BODE was left to carry the show on, and he did that excellently well. Thank you once again, gentlemen, for coming on the show. I know that Mondays are not the best of times to pull out editors from their office, but it's the sacrifice that we have to make to move the country forward. You can join us on our live stream from anywhere in the world. You can join us if you want to on YouTube. Just type in Citizen FM 93.7. You can also listen to us online on www.citizenfm.ng. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Facebook at Citizen FM 94.7. That's on Facebook. On Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and also on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. Okay, gentlemen, before we start, just like I normally do you know who your lawmaker is in the State Assembly? Do you know who your local government chairman is? And more importantly, do you know who your councillor is? These are elected representatives expected to make basic impact in our daily lives. Everything does not revolve around the president or even the governor. Try and find out these representatives and make sure that you hold them to account for those things happening in your community. Once again, my name is Lawrence Umoette. Welcome to Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. All right, gentlemen, let's go straight to the issues. So many talking points, but let's start from outside and come back home. Let's start from the ECOWAS position over the coup in Niger Republic. It's one talking point that has refused to go. Every day there are new development, new angles to it. But generally, Amadin, you were not here on Monday, but they spoke extensively on this. First of all, Amadin, how do you see these stories unfolding over the weeks? What's happening? What do you think are the issues?
For me, I don't see any big thing about what is happening in Niger, because it's not the first and it's not going to be the last. But the reality is that one country has to be made a scapegoat. Let's go back to history. When the president of Sao Tome and Principe visited Nigeria, and there was a coup in his country. In his absence, the military took over. What happened? Nigeria, as the big brother, reversed that coup. That was during President Olusegun Obasanjo's time. During the time of President Goodluck Jonathan, when Cote d'Ivoire had an election and the president refused to relinquish power, Nigeria and Senegal rose as the big brothers and said, no, it can't happen. That was, in fact, we forced them to adopt their democratic principles as enshrined in the ECOWAS constitution. Also, it happened during the time of President Buhari, when the Gambia had election and strongman Yahya Jammeh refused to concede, while the electoral body had even declared a winner. It took Nigeria to send boots to push Jammeh out. So for me, looking at past events, there's no big deal about Niger. It's just that we're in the days of social media, so everybody has an opinion, and that opinion is loud. Some say, what is our business in Niger? Look at these three countries I have mentioned. I think Niger is more strategic to us because Niger is a gateway to the Sahel. Niger, we remember what happened in Libya. Libya is not directly bordering us, but we are still suffering from the proliferation of small arms and light weapons that were released from storage in Libya. Now Niger, which is just on a border, a coup has toppled a democratically elected government. That government has spent only about 2 years. 2021, it was sworn in. And some people say Niger is poor. The poverty did not start in 2021. The truth about the matter is that the people had ascribed to democracy, and they voted a president. Whether you like it or not, whether you don't like him, you know how it is in a democracy. They say opposition is always part of a democracy, but you know how it is with the opposition. The opposition will stop any move to truncate the government of their rival. So it has happened in Niger. People are saying the coup is supported. I said no, the coup is not supported. It is the opposition faction assaulting the coup. How many people voted in Niger for that president? The people that gathered in that stadium, are they up to 30,000? So let's call a spade a spade. Nigeria is the largest trading partner to Niger. Go to the borders now. I was watching the borders. See how many trucks have been stuck at the borders. They cannot go in trying to enforce the ECOWAS mandate. As it has happened, our president is the chairperson of the ECOWAS authority heads of state. So people are now passing that misinformation that it is Nigeria. It is not Nigeria, and Niger has signed to that convention. You cannot breach a country's constitution and tell the whole world it is an internal affairs of your country. You are not obeying the laws of the country, yet you still want to quote those laws and ensure that the other countries surrounding you obey those laws. But as it is, in the last 48 hours, a little light has shone at the end of the tunnel. The Islamic clerics that went to Niger, the president of the junta, Chiani, Major General Chiani, rather, he spoke to the Islamic clerics, and he has expressed willingness now to come to the negotiating table with ECOWAS. But I want to mention something very clear. There are 15 countries that make up the ECOWAS sub-region. The ECOWAS, they are all members of the ECOWAS Commission. And those out of 15 countries, in the last 3 years, we have seen Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Niger. That is over 25% of those countries. Militaries have toppled their governments, and ECOWAS has done nothing. Now there's a new sheriff in town, and the sheriff says, I will not toe the path of others. This is the reality. The reality is that we will not allow the military to continue toppling civilian democracies within the ECOWAS sub-region. They gave the Niger government an ultimatum. After that, the chiefs of defense staffs of the Niger of ECOWAS states, they submitted a recommendation. The ECOWAS authority head of states, they met a few days ago, in Abuja, and they listened to the resolution, and therefore they activated the ECOWAS standby force. That means any moment from now, they are not saying we are going to war with Niger, but they are saying that we are going to try and continue to see how we can pressure the government, that you cannot hold a sitting president hostage for nothing, just because you are power drunk. And then that means the ECOWAS standby force can be activated. But let us see, now that the coup plotters have decided to come and sit down with ECOWAS, let us see how the next 1 week will be, and hope that they will have some common sense. And that common sense is that they will, if they are not relinquishing power, they are going to release the president, which is in custody. A few days ago, they threatened that if ECOWAS comes in, they will kill the president. But remember that if they kill the president, they have also signed their own death warrants. They too will go. So it's a very conflicted situation, twisted, and we are hoping that it will not get to the point where we will start hearing the sounds of bullets.
All right, Amadin, BODE, having listened to Amadin's perspective, and one, yes, this is a position that is taken by ECOWAS, but we all know that Nigeria at the end of the day will bear the brunt of whatever ECOWAS carry. 70%, 80%, that has always been the story. Back home with our economic situation, is this one situation that Nigeria can really afford to take to the extreme?
I think that's not possible. There will be an amicable resolution at the end of the day.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah, because initially I was of the thinking that what you asked could happen, but given yesterday's development, when some of Nigerian Islamic leaders met with them on Saturday, and yesterday they revealed what transpired between them. They told us the junta was ready or has offered to negotiate.
What if they are just buying time?
Well, it is left to be seen if they are just buying time. But when they say they are ready to negotiate, I think ECOWAS will seize that opportunity within the shortest time possible to reach out to them. Oh yeah, you say you want to talk. What are you talking? How do we do? Are you going to restore Mohamed Bazoum, or what is it? But then I think we need to look at this issue from the latest development, which is the new dimension the whole crisis has taken. Now, the junta yesterday actually made startling revelations, saying it has gathered evidence to actually prosecute Mohamed Bazoum, the ousted president, for treason. And secondly, they said what they did in Niger was also to save Nigeria. That could be a blackmail to actually rope Nigeria into having sympathy with the junta. They said what they did was to actually save Nigeria again. That Bazoum, probably true or false, was into some things that could undermine the internal security and national security of Niger, and at the end of the day also affect Nigeria. So we don't have the details, but this is a new dimension. And I think that will also make Nigeria to have a rethink at the end of the day. What are these people saying? Let's subpedal. And that will also undermine ECOWAS. By the time Nigeria is pulling out from the ECOWAS hardline stance, then I can tell you ECOWAS will be powerless, because Nigeria is the arrowhead. Given the fact that Nigerian president is the chairman of the authority of heads of state and government of ECOWAS, and again, Nigeria is the major financier of ECOWAS. Nigeria is the headquarters of ECOWAS. So by the time Nigeria is having sympathy for the coupists, then a lot of things will happen. ECOWAS will be powerless, and that coup will have come to stay. So it is left to be seen what will happen in the coming days, probably today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow. We get to see what ECOWAS will do next, since there is now olive branch coming from the coupists and more revelations. And probably the ECOWAS might be forced to embrace the coupists.
Okay, gentlemen, before we leave this, Amadin, quickly, back home, the Senate has said that it's not favorably disposed to boots on the ground in Niger.
No, Lord, let's correct that impression. The Senate did not say so. People try to mislead the public. The Senate president made it clear that the president did not seek their permission. The president only informed them. Now, Senate is a class of many pupils. You do not expect every pupil to solve a question the same way. If everybody will have an idea about how they think it should go. Yes, the northern senators came out to say we do not support it because of our close affinity with the Nigerians. But the question we are asking, is Nigeria declaring war against Niger? No. A military government toppled a democratically elected government. Just say the ECOWAS is saying no, this is against our convention. Revert back to status quo. If there is Chiani had been the head of the presidential guard, he can just like BODE said something. He said new revelation. The truth about the matter is that if you have evidence that Bazoum is undermining security in the Sahel and in the ECOWAS sub-region, present it to ECOWAS. Are you understanding me now? ECOWAS has modalities to be able to deal with Bazoum. Are you getting me now? Then there is a democracy. What we are saying is the military is not prepared to rule a country for leadership. The military is prepared to defend the territorial integrity of any nation. If the military in Niger believe that Bazoum is trying to frustrate efforts at ensuring security in the Sahel, there are ways to go about it.
Like?
But no, there are ways you can present it to. There's an ECOWAS authority heads of state. Even if you don't go directly, you have the information. Let them know that the problem of insecurity in Niger is being caused by this man. Then ECOWAS will reach out to Bazoum with their evidence. But to now detain Bazoum, topple him, see, you cannot use wrong to solve
right wrong.
Yes, that's exactly how it is.
All right, Amadin, I think let's move on. There are a lot of other issues to look at, but I'm sure that this issue will always come up for the next 2-3 weeks. We'll also want to talk about it. But gentlemen, another issue that has come and gone, but it's still reverberating. It's the ministerial nomination of ministers. The president has done his part, the National Assembly has done its part, but there are still talking points. One, a lot of critics have been saying, why that bloated list? 47 or is it 48 now? 48. That's, I think, the highest so far in this republic. A lot of talking points. Then two, the rejection, or stepping down of Nasiru El-Rufai's nomination. It was not the only one. I think there were 3 of them that were stepped. But his name keeps bringing up a lot of talking points. Let's talk about this. Amadin, I'll start with you.
Okay, first of all, let's get it straight. The president can appoint as many as 100 ministers. It depends on how the direction he wants to run.
Amadin, I guess why people are worried is because this is a government that says it wants to cut costs.
Yes, you can still cut costs. Getting 48 ministers does not mean you cannot cut costs. Cutting costs is just merging several agencies. You have over 300 of them. Merging them will cut costs. What we are saying is the president has the right to nominate up to 100 ministers. Definitely. This thing, why people are complaining is because this is the highest, 48. But remember, we talked here once upon a time, talked about the Minister of State's designation and the rest. From the 48 list, you know that it is very clear that this current government cannot run away from appointing substantive ministers and then ministers of state by that number. But what we are saying is, let's see, we had heard before now that there was going to be a renaming of some ministries. They were going to merge some, they were going to rename some. Remember that there was a time that ministries like foreign affairs had 2 ministers of states. There was a time they had 2 ministers of state and a substantive ministers. So there are some ministers that they are so big they can accommodate up to 3 portfolios. But we are not the president. we are not in his mind, so we don't know what he wants to do. We only know that Nigerians were crying for ministers. The deadline was coming, and he sent names. He sent more names. Then the Senate now went on to screen. You talked about the rejection of Nasir El-Rufai. I think for that ministerial nominee, he shot himself in the foot, because the average Nigerians, you saw the video that was circulating, where he was speaking to certain people, trying to further emphasize on the divide between Christian and Muslims. And see, in a plural society like ours, the only way we can progress is mutual respect. Mutual respect of all religions, mutual respect of all sexes, mutual respect of all ethnic groups. So I spoke to a lawmaker sometime last week on his rejection, and the lawmaker said that, in fact, that rejection even helped calm the waters, because many senators wanted to ask him several questions on those issues which he raised. Nobody doubts his expertise as an administrator. He had proven that while he was Minister of FCT. He went to Kaduna State and also proved that as a governor of Kaduna. But you cannot take away your face from the issues that also cropped his head while he was governor. Issues of insecurity, issues that had to do with disagreements with the people of Southern Kaduna and the rest. But right now, all that is gone. The Senate, they suspended his nomination. It was a polite way to say they were rejecting it. And he too, in his own capacity, remember also that before then he had said that he wanted to go back to school. And he took the president in one of their outings before the elections to tell him that, no, we are not going to let you go. You have to serve us. You have to serve this nation. So he has now turned that and said, instead of being in the middle of all these controversies, I think the pursuit of further knowledge is better for me. That is fine and good. Then we also talked about the ministerial nominee, Stella Okotete from Delta State. I felt very sad for her, because I think she did well during her interaction with the Senate. Unfortunately, another notable person was put in the list. That is also from her local government, also from her ethnic group, speaks the same language. So there was just no way the presidency, the Senate will confirm the same two people from the same local government, from the same ethnic stock, from the same state as ministers. Come on, there are other ethnic groups in that state.
Amadin.
So there are some who feel that it was also a polite way of saying no, we can't do. You know, we too have been speaking with lawmakers who will not come and speak to you publicly that this is why the Senate did this. But we try to get one or two information from one or two things that they have been telling us. And it's the last nominee. I've not really been able to get much on why he was stepped down, but I hear that there were several petitions against him, and so the Senate felt that some of these petitions were authentic, and because of that, they also stepped him down for the time being. But you know what happens in Nigeria? They can still fly.
Okay, Amadin, if the president can nominate 100 ministers, he can as well nominate 2 from a particular local government.
Yeah,
those are the powers of the
It's also the prerogative of the Senate.
Yeah.
Do you know, because the Senate is to checkmate and also to stop the presidency from making errors.
I know. Okay, BODE, this El-Rufai matter is. I'm curious. One, let's look at it this way. Whatever allegations would have been leveled against El-Rufai, do you think the president was not aware of them before he nominated him? That's one. Then 2, if the president really wanted him, do you think the president would have just given up easily like that?
Well, you know, there are times he will take a decision, whether in the open or in the secret, and later there will be superior arguments
or findings,
evidence, findings that may compel you to change your mind. Okay. So in this case, whatever is happening to Nasir El-Rufai, I can tell you the president is not unaware. Is not unaware. And I don't know if you have seen the cover story of my newspaper for Saturday. The story of how he was nominated and how he was rejected was detailed in the history of leadership weekend. So it's not the first time this is happening. You know, it's just a kind of eye-opener that we should be mindful of our public conduct. Regardless of our knowledge, expertise, and anything, our public conduct also matters. Because utterances, in my language, Yoruba language, we say they are like a egg. When it falls down and is broken,
it's gone.
You cannot make it whole again. So when you make utterances, those utterances can come back haunting you. Now, in the case of, and I want to add to what Mr. Amadin said and then correct some things. Now, in the case of Stella Okotete from Delta, in fact, none of the three nominees have been rejected so far. What the Senate did is to withhold their confirmation pending security clearance. So tomorrow, if Senate reconvenes, they can confirm El-Rufai as minister until his name will be withdrawn from the list, which I'm not aware the name has been withdrawn, even though there are reports that he, as a person, has declined interest in the appointment. He's no longer interested because he was embarrassed with what happened to him. Now, Stella Okotete, there are petitions against her bordering on corruption, right from her place of, I think she's serving as an executive director in one of the government agencies. So there are allegations of corruption which the Senate is looking at, security agencies are looking at. So the issue of whether she was nominated from the same local government with another nominee does not arise. The Senate has no right to reject anybody based on that. It has no right to do that. So Abubakar Sandala, the senator, former senator and a former deputy governor, in fact, former acting governor as well of Taraba State, his confirmation was also withheld because there was a petition against him drawing the attention of the Senate to a subsisting judgment of the Supreme Court, which barred him from holding public office for 10 years. And those 10 years have not elapsed. And I think it was there were cases against him over alleged forgery or something. But unfortunately for him, there was no evidence. It's like, yes, the Supreme Court ruled that, don't hold public office again over this forgery matter. But that judgment was given somewhat in error. And he made a mistake by not acting within the constitutionally allowed time frame to raise up the matter. So, by a fruition of time, he lost it. Now, he's been nominated and he thought people have forgotten, and some people are saying, no, there is a subsisting judgment of the Supreme Court barring you from holding a public office. Now, I hope the Senate will be fair to these people, and that is fairness, by even saying, see, we are withholding your confirmation pending clearance. It's normal. So it's not hatred, but in the case of El-Rufai, there are a lot of theories about some Kabbalah against him because he's the best, he's the most this, he's the most that, which I don't believe. Whatever El-Rufai knows, there are thousands of Nigeria who possess those knowledge, even more. So anybody can serve anywhere. Now, finally, I think President Tinubu is on daily basis disappointing some of us who thought we actually hit the ground running. Number one, you raised the issue about having the biggest cabinet so far in recent time. You know, already he appointed about 8 special advisors. Now he's having 47 or so ministers. Bring them together, you have 50-something cabinet members. You know, those special advisors are also cabinet level appointees, so they will be part of the cabinet. So over 50 cabinet members. Whatever number of ministries you want to have, you can have. But what we're saying is, at this time, that the same President Tinubu is calling on Nigerians to tighten their belts, to sacrifice. He shouldn't be seen over-bloating governance structure, thereby costing taxpayers, thereby also spending more taxpayers' money. Because these people will be provided for. Whatever security-wise, everything-wise, they'll be provided for. And can we match this spending with good governance in terms of deliverables? Can we match it? So there are no even mechanism in place to even do this. Peer review mechanism and other things to even say, we have spent so amount of money in the 2023 fiscal year, and this is the dividend of democracy. delivered within the same period when that money is spent.
But maybe that will come when the ministers are given portfolios.
We hope so, but the way it's going, I think it's not hitting the ground running. Ministers have been confirmed for the past 8 days. No announcement of whether they will go on retreat or not, and no announcement as to when the cabinet will be constituted. Okay. So ministries are still being run by permanent secretaries.
Okay, if you're just joining us, it's Insights on Citizen FM 93.7, and we are discussing unfolding political events. And I have my editors in the studio here taking a look at some of the fundamental issues raised. You can join the discussion. Call us on 0903 2229797. That's 0903 2229797. You can also call us on 0818 2222205. That's 0818 2222205. Or you can call us on 0818 2222206. You can also send us a WhatsApp message on any of the numbers, and let's talk. Gentlemen, I want us to pack in as much as we can in the next 10 minutes. Amadin, about 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago, in fact, in the last 48 hours, the defense headquarters have been speaking. And I find their latest statements very worrisome because they had to come out to say, on issue of people calling for coup, that they are not, and they have declared their loyalty to the president and commander-in-chief. These statements are very weighty. They don't just come out of the ordinary. Before the defense headquarters could issue this kind of a statement, you know that there have been a lot of rumors going around. You've covered the defense for so many years, and you know that they don't just come out easily to say this. What could have really happened? What could have brought about this kind of statement?
I think for me, seeing that statement from the defense headquarters, as one who covered the defense headquarters and still covers the defense headquarters, I think it was a masterpiece from them, because remember that before the swearing in of this administration, several youths had marched to the defense headquarters calling on the military, saying they were not happy with the results of the elections and military come and take over. That is how it starts. Are you understanding me? The defense headquarters had then rejected that call that, see, Nigeria Army, Nigeria Defense, Nigeria's armed forces rather, is a professional organization. We don't engage in politics. Now, less than 2 months, I saw some of those reports which were rife on by bloggers, a lot on social media, where they were quoting certain people in the army as saying there have been calls for us to also do our own coup, and we rejected it. That was why the defense headquarters came to make it very clear that whatever information you are reading is false. We have not gotten any call by any politician, though disgruntled, discontent, that we should overthrow the current government. We are loyal to the commander-in-chief, and we are focused on our duty of restoring peace. That, for me, that was like a breath of fresh air, because so they say when you keep on hearing lies, you get to the point where the lies you now begin to think they are true. If this information is continue festering and spreading on social media, saying that people are calling on the military to come and take over, automatically you are trying to put that thought into their mind, and also you are trying to create a certain level of instability, causing the current government not to focus on delivering its promises to citizens. So now that the defense headquarters has come to say, see, those reports are false, some of us hope there will be closure to it. Some of us even hope that some of those organizations should be questioned, because in as much as we say freedom of speech, there's no absolute freedom of speech. You have seen the case that have been rife on social media, where some people have been accusing the Department of State Services of arresting some people over petitions written by the former Minister of Works and Housing. For me, I think it's apt, because social media has become so toxic. You see people who go to put things on social media without any sense of responsibility. They just put it because they want to amass followers. You open it, you see over how many million people have seen it. Some are commenting it, some are. Meanwhile, you know that those information are false. I remember something happened last week. someone brought to my notice, there's an information trending. Security agencies have barricaded Fashola's house. Blah, 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 blah. I started laughing. I now told the person, I said, number one, if you see security agencies on Fashola Street, are you in their mind why they got there? They might have gotten an intelligent information and want to nip whatever security situation in the board. The fact that they are going there, you cannot just relate it to politics. So this information you are telling me is something I don't even want. I will not even come near with a long pole because I'm not in the head of those soldiers if they were there, because I did not go to confirm. And that was why the minister who they wrote against, who at that point in Lagos, at that point in time he was in Lagos, but people were saying he was in Abuja. And that was why the minister sent a very strong petition to the police and also to the DSS to report these issues. So we must come to the understand where we know that fake news will destroy us. Okay. You don't just put it because you want to amass followers or you want to throw solidarity to any cause.
All right, BODE, as media men, as editors, we should be worried when segments of the society begin to even nurse the idea of a military. Maybe a lot of people do this did not live in Nigeria during the military era.
They didn't witness military.
Maybe they don't even have an idea of what it means to even practice, even practice the social media job that you do. Maybe they don't know. As editors, what should be our focus?
Well, I think it's just to deliver the narrative the way it ought to be, and also appeal to our people to be patriotic at all times. Yeah, the fake news is a challenge in this era of digital media. Fake news is a challenge for the conventional media, but then we still have to be on our guard. We don't need to lose guard in order not to actually project the wrong narrative that can set the country on fire. So we have to continue to appeal to people to be patriotic. Of course, like people will always say that the worst democracy is better than the best military rule. I recall the last junta we had in Nigeria. No, not the last junta. The second to the last junta. That was the military regime of the late General Sani Abacha before General Abdulsalami Abubakar. I recall all those nasty experiences.
Exactly.
You know, the bombings, the attack on opposition people, Nadeko people, arresting people.
The disappearance of people.
Disappearance of people, you know, the story of Bagauda Kalto remain unresolved, and the rest of them. So, democracy, where you have right to say, right to association, is very, very invaluable, and we need to cherish what we have before we lose it. It's very, very important.
I completely agree with you, BODE, because it looks like we need. That's why a lot of people say we need an agency of government that should protect our institutional memory and continuously remind a lot of, because you see, Amadin and BODE, Nigerians born in 1999 have no idea what a military regime is. They don't have even idea at all. Do you understand? So these are Nigerians about 23, 24, 25 years. So they don't have any idea, absolutely. So, and a lot of people have this misconception that, oh, the military regime is a corrective regime. It comes to correct, but they don't have any idea. Trust me, when we talk, especially no matter your profession, you cannot be happy under such a regime. Not to even talk about the media. We know what we went through, but they just spoke about disappearance of cattle and so many of them. A lot that we didn't know what happened to them. A lot. Today, you can bring in analysts on radio program, they bear their minds, they criticize, government will respond and everything. Those days, closure of media houses were the order of the day. 6 months, The Guardian, Concord, you name them, Punch, so many newspapers. People had to go underground. Guerrilla journalism came up, and so many other things. People were forced to flee the country. Families were in disarray. Newsrooms were invaded at will. People, you know, different kinds of things. So I think it behoves on the traditional media, the mainstream media, to protect this democracy, because we can't leave everything to the social media because of the lack of strict control of that medium. So Gentlemen, I'm really, really grateful for your intervention. I wish we had enough time to talk.
Let me really chip in something. When you talk about having necessity of having an institution to preserve institutional memory, I think there is no better institution like the educational institution to do that.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, what we have in Nigeria today is people, complaining about, they are not teaching IRS, they are not teaching CRK. Instead of, because CRK, IRS can be done by families and churches and mosques, instead of to be concerned with, they are not teaching history.
Nigerian history,
patriotism, love for one's country. Nobody cares.
Exactly.
So there's no better institution to do the right thing than the educational institution.
Maybe this is something, food for thought for the incoming minister in charge of education and everything, to have a second look at our curriculum. Amadin, you wanted to say something?
Someone just sent me a WhatsApp message, just contributing to what he said. I'll not mention his name, but I'll read it. He said, it's the duty of the Federal Minister of Information and Culture to keep institutions memory, but the ministry is dying. The archives department in the ministry is not active. So this is from a listener who just sent it now.
you see that's another thing. We need to revive some of these things and let people know a lot of these things, because sometimes, Amadi, the other day I was watching a documentary by a foreign station, a foreign broadcast station, about Nigeria's history. The visuals were so clean, the audio were so sound and everything, and I was like, if this foreign media could keep this, I'm not sure that Nigeria has that documentary.
Once upon a time, when I used to produce content for a foreign agency, there was a time they wanted to do a documentary. They said they had to go and buy it from the BBC, and those content are money. The person said he could only buy, is it 10 seconds or 20 seconds? That he was charged per second.
Exactly.
That is off Nigeria pre-independence post-independence. He bought 3 seconds, 5 seconds. He had to just select it. He could not buy more than 20 seconds. So to tell you that even our history, there are those who value it and who keep it. So if we don't do it, we will not get to the point where we have to go and be buying for foreign nations to teach our children what happened to us in the past.
Exactly. Gentlemen, that's where we have to draw the curtains on the program today. BODE, GBADEBO, online editor with the Leadership newspaper. Thank you, BODE.
My pleasure, sir.
Amadin Uyi, Bureau Chief, News Central and Head of Northern Operation. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you, Lord.
Well, that's our package on Insight today. The program returns tomorrow. My name is Lawrence Umoette. Enjoy the rest of your day.